Today I'm back with DM Diablo Immortal, and we're here to talk about end game mechanics inside of the game and PvP, what's kind of lacking there, what we'd like to see. Although we are both really liking the latest update, we still want to see some things changing in that area. DM, thanks for coming to the channel, man. Let's start off with end game, because this is one of the things that you were more keen on, and I'm more keen on the PvP stuff. So you love the update. I know you like the new zone. You talked about the voice acting and all that stuff. Talk to us a little bit about how you're feeling right now about Diablo Immortal and what you want to say.
So to start, I want to get all the positives out of the way because they are, I think, kind of consistently listening to what the people are saying. And you can even see that particularly if you read and translate the Chinese patch notes. There's like a whole section about it where they're basically saying, hey, the whole point of this update is we're focusing on what the people are saying they want changed. So, namely things like guaranteed set item drops, guaranteed legendary drops, boosted experience rates, etc. So they take all these things, upgraded drops for people below combat rating, etc. So they add all these things into the game, which, in my opinion, is all a W. So I think the update was great. The saddest part about the update for me was what I liked the most about it, which is that the story was actually really good. It was one of the first times I've actually sat and listened, because we played it on stream, right? We had the Battle.net plug, so I'm like, let me just take my time. Like, I'm going to be live for 4 hours a day for the next 3 days anyway. So I'm just going to take my time, watch this, listen to the voice acting, and it was actually just really good. Like, the voice acting I thought was hilarious at worst, really good at best. The story was decent, and it was fun and enjoyable. I liked that. My problem is once it was completed, it felt like, okay, well, here we are again. Like, we're back into the hell difficulties again. So now we go, increase the hell number by 1 and kind of refarm it again. And so I feel like Diablo Immortal, just itself as a game and concept, because of the combat rating system, has a little bit put itself in a box where everything is so determined by combat rating that basically your singular focus every time you log on the game is, I'm just going to get more combat rating. Like, it's not, let me try a new build. It's not, let me get this other essence because that's suddenly going to blow up my character. Like, more times than not, you can basically randomize your build and clear almost any of the content as long as you have combat rating for it, which is, I think, where my unsatisfaction comes in the end game. Because very typically, Diablo games are not designed around, you have this number, you beat the content. It's designed around, oh, well, you found a mash of items that work together that create enough damage numbers you can go into X challenge rift or whatever. So it was the peak of where you going was based upon your builds and creativity and what was viable that season, right? Whereas in this game, it's all based upon combat rating, and the seasons don't really change very much season to season because the battle passes are all kind of min maxes of each other. So I feel like Diablo Immortal was a little bit put itself in a box where even when they have good updates, I think all of the updates since launch have actually been pretty good. We had class changes, the most recent update, so it's been getting better. Like, the game is objectively getting better. It's very difficult for them to create long-lasting, scalable in-game content because of the nature of combat rating. It seems like everything is always going to be linear. You have the combat rating, you beat it. Okay, this boss is now one and done for you. You have the next combat rating, you can beat the next one and done, and so forth.
Yeah, I mean, you spoke about how you really like the update, and I think the updates have gotten better every single time as well. Diablo Immortal's just over time becoming a better game, which is good. But it does have the issues, and you mentioned the end game mechanic, and I mentioned PvP. Because I'm a big PvP guy. When I was into shooters, which is honestly what I played the most of back in the day, Call of Duty, Halo, and stuff like that, it was, PvP in that sense, it just goes on and on. I don't really love the PvP in Diablo Immortal. It's really, I mean, besides like the immortal fight and all that, your battlegrounds is just an objective-based game mode that's the same all the time that I really don't love, if I'm being honest. So the amount of time that they spent to make this new zone, all the acting behind it, all the resources that went into it, it was great. But let's be honest, most players, besides like going back and farming the zone, which it's not the best zone to farm, we spent a half an hour on the new content. You spent more time because you were streaming it. Congratulations, by the way, on being promoted by Blizzard. That's awesome. I'd like to see some of this time and these resources spent towards an end game mechanic, something that you would maybe you could elaborate on because you're more into the end game, or into PvP that is just different types of PvP, just not the same thing over and over again. I never did like objective based stuff. I just want battler, just get in there and just have some fun, hack and slash at people. Now, I know that we did see in some of the the dark side of the web, we saw some stuff about potential things coming for PvP and stuff in the future. Nothing has been officially mentioned or anything like that. So these things are possibly coming, which is great. And if the trend continues, Diablo Immortal is going to continuously get better and better. Better for free-to-play players, better for everyone that's playing the game. But until we see these things being put in place, they're still not there. So the issue is, you get players that get burnt out. They play for a few months. They realize that every day they just log in to increase their combat rating. Because let's be honest, that's what we do. We log in every day. We try and gain as much XP as we can, get our combat rating up a few levels, a few more Paragon levels, and we felt like we've accomplished the day inside of the game. So what kind of an end game? You don't. I guess you don't like the whole Shadow Immortal battle. You think that it's just not enough. How would you like to see it change?
To be fair, I don't know if that's how I feel about the Shadow Immortal thing. I personally don't engage in that part of the game anymore. But it was engaging when I was doing it. So I was the Immortal on the server for a little bit, and it wasn't because of me being a giant well or anything, even though, yeah, I am. I've spent a few grand. It was because we had a really good team behind us that pushed us all, and we had multiple clans and politics, and there was people like Veldshot just sitting in the Discord, 24 hours a day talking to people, and Brad doing the spreadsheets. So we had all these people that were really putting in a lot of hours to make some progress happen. And it was extremely draining, to say the least. Okay.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it wasn't exciting and we were all like, we did it, and we got to see me in the statue and it was fun and all that. That's cool. But once you've done it, there's basically no reason to do it again, is the reality of it, because it takes an insane amount of min-maxing in the game if you want to be the people that are dominating on the server all the time. The amount of time you have to spend in the game is ridiculous, and then the amount of time you have to spend outside of the game is even more ridiculous.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean it's bad. It doesn't mean it's bad game design, however. I often thought it was, and I remember originally right in the beginning, I was actually complaining to one of the devs because I was like, your system directly encourages basically people to hate each other. And he more or less said, yeah, that's right, it does. And that's the point of it. You have to realize that's the sandbox part of the game. That's the part of the game that the people create their own, universe. That's the Eve Echoes economy. That is essentially the part of the game that will allow you to be creative with it. And so I was able to understand that argument after some time. And looking back, like I'm saying, some games like EVE Online, etc., where what happens and the drama dictated around it is very often considered, for certain types of people, the enjoyable part of the game. I don't think I'm one of those types of people, which is why I don't necessarily engage anymore in the whole clan side of things, because of how much work it actually takes just to maintain the clan is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't know if it's manageable for anyone who's doing YouTube basically full time and running multiple channels and stuff. I know it was not manageable for literally any of us. Me, Veld, and Chosen, we all weren't able to tackle it full time while being able to run multiple YouTube channels and trying to live stream and all that. It takes too much time. So I think I kind of renege a little bit on my negativity of the clan system, and I don't think it's actually poorly designed. I just think it's not the type of design that somebody like me, who's more social, less competitive, would enjoy. I think you have to be hyper competitive in order to enjoy that type of system, which isn't necessarily bad, and it does actually breed competition. Is going to breed spending, which I think is also the point of it. Yeah. So it's probably well designed for what they want, which is both money as well as drama and competition, breeding ground. But I don't think it's going to get a lot of people who are like me at the moment, who don't want to grind out above Paragon every single day, who don't want to min-max triple Rosa every single hell difficulty, that aren't farming, 3, 4, 5 hours every single day above our hell difficulty, just so when I hit the level, I have a boost above somebody for 2 weeks. I'm not willing to do all those things. And I think the majority of the people are not. And the majority of those people, if you join a super competitive clan that's going for more, you're just going to get kicked out because you're not doing those type of things, and they will require those types of things. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just don't think I personally enjoy it.
Yeah, and I mean, you talked about you having multiple YouTube channels. I'm in the same boat. But I mean, think about normal people who play. If they're kids, they have school to go to. If they're adults, they have a job to go to. So
Yeah.
and it is an extremely, a daunting task to run a successful enough clan to be able to become the Immortals. It's not like you just are all super powerful and you kind of wing it. It takes a lot of collaboration together. I mean, Scrappy did it. Him and Red were pretty big on my side of things, pretty big on keeping everything organized. And I know that it was a huge burnout. I mean, the amount of time it takes, plus content creation, plus working full time on top of that, it's just a lot. And
not only that, man, but it's like in this game it takes even more. Like, I'm not new to running my own clans. Before I was doing the Aftershock thing, I did the Well Pod, right? And so in the Well Pod, for Marvel Future Revolution, we were able to basically be the #1 clan in the world on launch for a little while. And then we stopped playing as much, and a guy actually ended up paying some members to like make people leave my clan, etc. It was super annoying.
Oh, wow.
But we were able to maintain that for a little while. And even that wasn't as competitive. Then in EVE, when we did EVE Mobile, the EVE Online mobile version called EVE Echoes, we had a very large corporation that ended up owning its own segment in like NoSec and everything back in the day. And we were able to very, very well maintain that. But I feel like even all of those games where we were playing kind of the upper echelon, and arguably even harder than this game, because this game is more server-based, where these other games are, not as much server-based. Even those felt easier and like less maintenance. It's because of the whole way that the leaderboard works out, where like certain people can only fight against certain people. So if you have multiple clans, you can knock your own people out, and the constant politicking and drama because of the right of the exile that requires people to constantly be in the communication, be like, okay, are you really gonna let us win the right of it? It's like this Survivor type of reality drama type of show. I don't know if you watch the TV show Survivor, but it reminds me. It reminds me very much of that TV show where it's like, we're going to vote this guy off the island. And that just takes so much time to be involved with it. It's unappealing.
Yeah, I get it. So I think we need to brainstorm one of these days and figure out what could this end game mechanic inside of the game look like so that it's more engaging. And once you are the Immortal, you don't get that feeling that, okay, I've been there, I've done that, I don't need to do it again, especially because it's so much work to actually succeed at that. And
game modes.
Game modes? Give me an example.
I think you just need a couple more PvP matches.
Yeah,
Do something like the Fractured Plane, where it's just RNG creates a map, okay? Like Fractured Plane. RNG random map, all right? But then it's everyone spawns everywhere within the map, and you can kill monsters and pick up loot just like you can the Fractured Plane. But if you see another person, you can fight them. Bang, Battle Royale. It's not like you need a new, fresh idea. You just got to create it in the Diablo universe based upon what we have in the game for assets. I mean, you can do it. It's just they're not doing it for whatever reason, which is, I think, basically boils down to money, if you're asking me personally. But because there's a lot of other ways we could have tons of fun stuff to do in the game. The problem is PvP has one map, which is arguably slanted towards defense, and the matchmaking is based upon resonance, and it's a resonance-based system anyway. So it's like you queue into the same map to get shit on by the same people to get the same bad rewards, and it's just people don't want to do it. They don't want to do it after so long. So add new game modes in the game, and people will log in and start doing them. I love pretty much that simple.
I love the ideas because Diablo Immortal is a really well-built game. Like, the game is beautiful. It's got all these amazing zones already. Like, let's take some of the stuff that we have that's already been created and just throw people on the map or section off the map. Like, they have that little battlegrounds area on one of the maps that I really never go battle in there. But like, if there was a mode like that, I absolutely love the idea. I mean, I've been saying Battle Royale since day one, but it wouldn't even have to be building anything special or new. Just
that's what I'm saying.
Throw everyone in. Like, I mean, when you think about a game, I think about Gears of War was created, forever ago. I don't even know how long ago it's been now. And I know that in Gears of War, one of my favorite games of all time, the multiplayer mode was like an afterthought. It was just thrown in at the end. It wasn't thought out full and through, and it was the best part of Gears of War, arguably, I guess, because also had a great story too. But like, I don't think it needs to be anything crazy, in depth. Just let us all jump in there and fight it out.
It really doesn't. Let the people create the content. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
let the people create the content outside of just like Clan Wars drama that's based upon pay to win. Like all you have to do is give people different game modes, and they'll have ways of having it be fun. On our server, the way people were having fun is they were going into a vault and then purposely not killing each other and setting up 1v1 duels and stuff just to have a way to do it.
Yeah.
So it was ridiculous to me. That it seems to me that there's a million ways you could just add in little fun easy ways to do multiplayer with people, and there's not really very many of those. You got things like the Ancient Arena, etc., around the map. I
Yeah.
guess you got the new Onslaught now in Stormpoint, so I want to give them credit where credit's due. It's kind of cool, and there was the Echoes of the Immortal was pretty cool. But PvP always seems a little underwhelming. You could also solve the problem, and let's just say, okay, so maybe we're just being a little whiny about PvP. They don't need new game modes. We just need to hashtag get good or whatever, right? Well, then the argument can be made, okay, well then all they have to do is buff the other side of the game, which is acquiring resonance. The PvP isn't so good right now because the resonance system is basically pay to win only at a certain point. You hit a certain point of resonance, 2 to 3K, 3K if you're really lucky, free to play. I haven't seen anyone that made it there yet. Then be able to push past that. I mean, you're talking so many duplicates of 5 stars. It's just realistically not going to happen. And while the pros were a good addition, you can only craft 2 stars out of those literally anyway, which is kind of a bummer. So that means there are only 4 duplicates. And if there are only 4 duplicates, the amount of time that you need to get enough duplicates to be able to get any amount of resonance where you can compete, I can tell you at 3,000 resonance, it cost me $3,300 to get there. Like I still get 2 shot in
Wow.
PvP, and it's not like I'm at the upper ranks. Like I play like 1 match a week and get 2 shot by basically everybody. It's hard, man. It's hard in PvP without a lot of the resonance.
Oh yeah, it 100% is. I don't think that adding in these types of game modes that we're talking about either that are, essentially free to play game modes, I don't think it would affect the end result monetarily of the game. You're still going to have all the people that want to be the best and want to go into these other game modes and that want to be the immortals, and I think the game will still do well. And who knows, maybe we'll see this type of stuff. That would be really cool if we did, so that we can enjoy PvP as well without, as you're mentioning, getting 2-shotted. And I have not spent that much money inside of Diablo Immortal as you, and so I guess you could understand how my experience would be inside of it.
I believe it. I mean, I hear it every day from people. It's why it's
Yeah.
it's like if you're asking just me and just my opinion, me sitting here, it's like, yeah, everything's fucking great. I get to make YouTube videos for a living, sit around, play video games. Like everything's fantastic. But when I actually the reality is I read a ton of comments and you hear the feedback from the people and stuff. So I know the reality of it, and it's the PvP is not enjoyable for the vast majority of players at the moment.
Yeah, but on the positive note, as we started this video, the update was great. The updates continuously are improving. We see that Blizzard listens to the community, so I would anticipate that they do hear things that we're saying, as well as people on Reddit and all over the place. And changes are being implemented over time, ones that they feel would do well for the game. I love the sandbox idea, though, man. That's definitely a good one. Let the players create what they want to play.
My favorite game like RuneScape has Iron Man mode, Group Iron Man mode, Ultimate Iron Man mode, Hardcore Iron Man mode, Leagues Season 1, 2, and 3, Fresh Start Worlds, and what was the most recent one? There was another one that was, and Speed Running Quest Worlds. So these are all game modes in account versions. So imagine if you could make a new Diablo Immortal character, and the character was not able to interact with players at all, and they called it Iron Man mode, or if you could even make a hardcore character or something that locked out and wouldn't let you spend money, etc. You could add more ways without actually having to build a bigger game. You could just modify the versions of the game already. So there's other ways you could do it too. But I mean, I do want to end it on a positive note because I legitimately see the game getting better. I mean, each one of these updates are getting better. I know there's been some debates about lack of communication and lack of a roadmap and stuff, and I get those points, but I do legitimately see them. At least I can say I see them. Like directly listening to feedback that people like me or you will send them and actually have them kind of shape the game slowly around that stuff. And I know all the feedback that the influencers, everyone are sending them, are all the ones that basically we see in comments. So that if you're listening to this, your comments and your Reddit posts and all those type of stuff, all of those things do actually end up diluted down to Blizzard one way or another and have directly influenced the game. I mean, there's stuff in the game that people have just straight up asked for on Reddit that's been added.
Yeah.
So I leave it on a positive note for me anyway.
Yeah, and I'm sure they do have a roadmap. They're just pretty secretive about stuff. You know, they're not opening up and telling everyone what they're doing, but I mean, they have their plans. They know what they plan on doing, and hopefully, it just continues to be more and more positive for the game as time goes on. But DM, thanks for coming through the channel. Anyone that wants to check out his Diablo Immortal content, I'll be linking his DM Diablo Immortal channel in the description of this video. He also has a whole bunch of other channels, van life channels, his original Darth microtransaction channel. I may link a few of those down there too as well. But thanks for coming through, man.
Yeah, man. Of course, it's always fun to talk about the game. State of the game is always a good conversation to have.
It is. I appreciate it. Bye, guys.